Okay, good evening everyone. I'm Matt. I'll be doing a video today about some casting calls actually from season 6 of Game of Thrones. So with the huge cliffhangers that the season finale of season 5 left us with last night, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of give us something to chew on moving forward. Now, first of all, I want to give a big thumbs up to WatchersOnTheWall.com who released those casting calls a couple days ago, I think, maybe a week ago. And they definitely give us a lot to talk about. So I'm going to pull them up on my phone here, and I'm going to discuss the casting calls that were recently released. To be exact, they were released on May 26th, so about 2 weeks ago. And there's some very, very interesting characters in there. Some are fairly straightforward, and others are up for debate. So, as usual, I'm looking forward to your comments, your theories, your thoughts, or anything you can bring us following this video. So, let's get started. The first character is defined as Pirate, man in his 40s to late 50s. He's an infamous pirate who has terrorized the seas all around the world, cunning, ruthless, with a touch of madness. He's a dangerous-looking man, a very good part this season. Now this to me quite obviously is Euron Greyjoy, who is Theon's uncle and Balon's younger brother. However, I think that they're going to merge the characters of Euron, and Victarion, which are the two brothers of Balon in the books. So I don't think we're going to see both Victarion and Euron. I think we're going to see one character that's kind of a mixture of the two. The combining of characters has been a fairly recurring theme on the show. We've seen Dario Naharis do some strong Belwaz stuff. Jorah Mormont with the Grayscale is a merge of also John Connington. And a few others, Sansa and Jane Poole, the other one that comes to mind as well. So I think this is how we're going to see this character, but there's not much to discuss here. Everyone agrees, so that's going to be the pirate. The next one is Father, age 50s to 60s. He's one of the greatest soldiers in Westeros, a humorless martinet, severe and intimidating. He demands martial discipline in the field and in his home. It's described as a very good part for next year and that he's centrally involved in the protagonist's storyline. Now this one again doesn't leave much to the imagination. It's obviously Randyll Tarly, who is Samwell Tarly's father, and also the best general in the Tyrell army. So this suggests that we may see the scene from the books where Randyll Tarly marches the Tyrell vanguard into King's Landing to demand Marjorie be released. In the case of the show, it probably involves Loras Tyrell too. So there's not really much there to discuss either. We knew this character was going to show up at some point, and it looks like we're going to see him in Season 6. The next three are interesting, and I agree with the folks at Watchers on the Wall that this is likely related to the character of Samwell Tarly. And here what we have is a mother who's in her 50s, sweet, plump, adoring mother, has a soft spot from one of her children who benefits from her decency, a sister in her early 20s, kind, friendly, and unpretentious, and a brother, early to mid-20s, athletic, good hunter, excellent swordsman, manly but not particularly bright, favorite child of the father. So I think what we're seeing here is the mother is Randyll Tarly's wife and the mother of Samwell Tarly. Remember, she gave him the thimble that he later gave Gilly at Craster's. The sister would be one of his younger sisters, and the brother would be Dickon Tarly, which was Samwell Tarly's younger brother and the one that was chosen to lead House Tarly by Randyll, hence forcing Sam to take the black. So again, unless there's a major shift in the story, I think those characters are fairly obvious and we pretty much know where we're going. Now the next one is interesting. So it is the priest. He's in his 40s to 50s, gruff ex-soldier who found religion, now a no-nonsense rural priest who ministers to the poor of the countryside. He's a salt-of-the-earth man who has weathered many battles. So for those of you who are book readers, you know we're probably talking about Septon Maribald here, as correctly pointed out by the folks at Watchers on the Wall yet again. Now, although Maribald in and out of itself is not a particularly interesting character in my opinion, his presence denotes that it is likely that the hound survived its wounds and that he lives. If you recall from the books, there's a man, there's a grave digger with Septon Maribald, and he has a black horse who kicks everywhere, who is very aggressive, who resembles the Stranger, which is Sandor Clegane's horse in the books. So if we're going to see Septon Maribald, then there's a fairly good chance that we're going to see Sandor Clegane in some fashion. I don't know if they're going to bring the exact character of the Gravedigger or if it's going to be on another form, but if he's there, it usually will indicate that we'll see Sandor Clegane again, and in and out of itself, that makes it interesting. Now, we get into the more interesting and the more cryptic roles as well. The first one is known as the leading actress. She's described as an early 40s. She's an elegant actress with a traveling theater company. Fun, charismatic, rum-drinking actress in the troupe. So, who is this mysterious character? And as I was reading these earlier today, I really got to ask myself who she was, and I was at a loss for a moment until I got to thinking that maybe, just maybe, this is the show's version of Taena Merryweather, who becomes Cersei's confidant in her time of trial after she is arrested by the Faith Militant and then subsequently released, and she also ends up sharing Cersei's bed. Now, I have very little to base this on, and this is far-fetched even by my standards. However, there are a few nuggets here. There's the fun and the charismatic aspect, which is something that is denoted by everyone who sees Taena Merryweather. Jaime Lannister describes her as every move being seduction. Sansa says she's a sultry black beauty. She charms her way into Cersei's bed and into being Cersei's confidant. And so I think these are a few points, but there may be a nugget in the description that tells us that this is going to be Taena Merryweather. Now, Taena is originally from the free city of Myr, where Lord Merryweather had met her while he was in exile. Now, what's interesting is they mentioned that she drinks rum. There's only one other character in the show that we've seen drinking rum, and that is the Red Priest Thoros, who also happens to be from this free city of Myr. So, does this mean anything? Probably not. Have I lost my mind? There's a pretty good chance. But I like to think that this wasn't inserted there for nothing, and that maybe this leading actress will be the show's version of Taena Merryweather. So that's the leading actress. The next one is the priestess. Mid-20s to early 30s, any ethnicity. She's beautiful, intense, and magnetic. Here I have two thoughts as to who this should be. Or who it will be, I should say. Because I don't decide what things should or should not be, let's be honest. Here I see two potential. Either they're going to recast the Red Priestess from Volantis, which we saw when Tyrion and Varys were crossing the Bridge of Volantis. The one, you recall, had the snake and was preaching about Daenerys Targaryen. So either we're going to see her more and they're looking to recast that character, or this could be Quaithe as well, the lacquered masked Shadowbinder from Asshai, who has some very cryptic prophecies for Dany, and who, albeit hasn't been very present in the show, at least not as much as she was in the books, but this could be who she is. Another clue that leads me to Quaithe is the concept of any ethnicity going. I mean, if she's going to wear a lacquered mask, it really doesn't matter what her ethnicity is, because we're not going to see her face. So I like to think that this may be it, or, as I said, a recast of the Volantis Red Priestess that we saw when Tyrion and Varys were in Volantis together. The next character is the Fierce Warrior. He's a tall man in 30s or 40s with a powerful physique. They're looking for someone with mixed ethnicity for the role. Rings a bell, guys? I think we got ourselves a new Cal. In Season 5, Episode 10, Dany encounters a new Khalasar while she is stranded with Drogon. And they do a very well choreographed, very well filmed horse circling ritual, I'm going to call it, around her. And my guess is that this Fierce Warrior is the Khal leading this new Khalasar that Dany has encountered in Season 5. episode 10. In the books, they call him Cal Pono. I don't know if they're going to keep that name in the show, if maybe they're going to make him one of Khal Drogo's old blood riders who broke off when Dany wouldn't go to Vaes Dothrak, and she decided to strike off on her own. I don't know which angle they're going to take, but a mixed ethnicity, tall man with a powerful physique, 30s or 40s, that does sound like we're going to see a new Cal in Season 6. And now we get to my 3 favorite casting characters, because they are so ambiguous and they're so interesting at the same time that I want to spend a fair amount of time. I'll probably spend as much discussing these 3 as I did all of the other ones. And this is where I also kind of disagree with the guys over at Watchers on the Wall, and I'm going to present their suggestion, I'm going to present mine, and you guys can decide whichever one you feel. So what do we have here? We have 3 boys. A large boy, with an actor who is 10 or 12 but playing 7 or 8. He's described as a clever boy who seems too large for his age. He's big and tall but not fat. Characterful squat features are plus for this part. It's specified that this is a one-time appearance. 12-year-old boy with brown hair and blue eyes needs to use a northern accent. He has scenes where he has to spar with a wooden sword. The length of the role isn't specified. A 7-year-old boy with dark brown hair, a narrow face, and green eyes. He also has a northern accent. He also spars with the wooden sword, so it's safe to assume it's the same scene. The role is similarly open-ended, the description only saying that the character is being introduced. Now this is fascinating. The guys at Watchers on the Wall think that the 7-year-old character would be a child version of Ned Stark, which would appear, I'm assuming, in some kind of vision that Bran gets through the Heart Tree, or as part of his training, if you will, with Bloodraven. We know Bran's coming back in Season 6, and the large boy would be Robert Baratheon. It would make sense for Ned and Robert to be together, and the 12-year-old boy could actually be Ned's older brother, Brandon. Now, there have never been any records of Brandon, Ned, and Robert ever all meeting together, but it stands to reason that it could happen if, for instance, for a feast or a tournament or any other reason that Brandon would have visited the Eyrie while Ned and Robert were being fostered there. What's interesting is it has Ned, if we follow this theory, it would have Ned sparring with his brother and not with Robert, which is somewhat unusual since we've seen from Game of Thrones, at least in the books of Game of Thrones, that the boys, when they spar in the yard in Winterfell, when the king is visiting, Bran spars with Tommen, Robb spars with Joffrey. They seem to spar based on age, so it would stand to reason that Ned would be sparring with Robert and not Brandon. Now that is the theory that's introduced by Watchers on the Wall, and it's a really, really cool one. We have to give credit where credit is due, and that would be amazing. I mean, for Bran to be able to have a vision of his father as a child, of a young Robert Baratheon, even to see Brandon Stark, would be really cool. However, I kind of disagree on where this story is going. I actually think the 7-year-old boy is Rickon, and the 12-year-old boy is most likely another ward of the Umbers, and the large boy is actually an Umber child. Now bear with me as I explain. The Umbers are bigger, physically, than any other of the Northmen. For God's sakes, their sigil is a giant. They're the biggest men in the North. So it would stand to reason that their children would also be bigger. But I think the linchpin isn't quite there. Remember in Season 4, when Bran and Rickon and Osha and Odor and the direwolves are in the tower hiding from the wildlings, they decide to split. Bran is going to go beyond the wall with Hodor and Summer to find the three-eyed raven. And he tells Rickon to go to Last Hearth because the Umbers are their bannermen. And Rickon doesn't want to go. And to convince him, Bran tells him, the Umbers are bannermen, they're going to teach you how to swing a sword. So I don't think the fact that the wooden swords were introduced there for nothing. There was a reason. This is kind of one of those strange connections that maybe I see because I have too much time on my hands, but I don't think it's for nothing that Bran told Rickon, you were going to learn how to swing a sword from the Umbers, and then we have a kid with a northern accent who's swinging a wooden sword in season 6. Does that guarantee we're going to see Rickon? Absolutely not. But it does give us something to ponder on, at least insofar as that storyline is concerned. Now, granted that, let's assume for a second I'm right, which I very rarely am, but let's assume I am for now. What's interesting is not just the fact that we're going to see Rickon and the Umbers and Last Hearth and all that cool stuff. What's interesting is how is it going to happen? And here I think there are two ways it's going to happen. There's the easy way and then there's the awesome way. The easy way is that this happens through one of Bran's vision, through the Heart Tree. It stands to reason that Last Hearth has a God's Wood, so the old gods have eyes there and Bran can technically see, and he could see his brother sparring with a sword and realizing that he's safe and then get a sense of comfort out of it. This is one explanation. The other explanation is that Sansa's going to go to Last Hearth. And this is where I think it's going to happen. Let's go back again to the episode in the tower with Bran and Rickon. Bran doesn't consider any other place to send Rickon, than Last Hearth. The Umbers are the most loyal of the Stark bannermen, and let's face it, Last Hearth is in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to find. The Boltons don't want to go anywhere near that. It's the safest place for any Stark to go. Now, it stands to reason that if Bran knows that, then Sansa knows it as well. This would be part of the teachings that they got from Ned Stark as children. So I think it would be awesomely awesome if Sansa was to unknowingly go to Last Hearth and then reunite somehow with Rickon, and that's the scene that would generate it. Is this going to happen? Highly unlikely. Am I wrong? Highly likely. But the season just ended. Part of our souls have all been crushed by what we've seen. So since hope is all we're left to cling with, this is what I'm going to stick to. So, alright guys, those were my kind of predictions for the casting calls. As more of these things come up, I'll discuss them further. Just so you guys know, we are going to do the Pink Letter video with Mellicans at some point this week, and then we'll post it. This was kind of an interlude video. I saw the article today from Watchers on the Wall, and I wanted to talk about it. So the Pink Letter video is coming. This is what you guys voted for, and we will do it for you. Again, big thanks to the folks at Watchers on the Wall for putting these casting notes up. Good job. Way to give us something to sink our teeth into for the next 42 weeks. So on this, guys, thank you for listening, and see you next time. Ciao.